This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Talking with Grant Hall. Appreciate your time on Wednesdays, Grant. Right now, we've got a press conference with Marcus Woodson, the new defensive backs coach for Arkansas. But you're with us. How you doing, man? What's new?
Well, yeah, I just had to leave that a little bit early because they were a little bit late getting started today. Practice actually wasn't scheduled to go as long, but they're all talking about how good the weather has been here. The last couple of days have been welcome respite from the heat. Coach Woodson came from Florida State, and I was struck by the fact that he sounds a little bit like Charlie Pride, the late great country singer. When he talks, that's who he reminds me of. But they're excited, about the guys they're working with. They've been able to, because of, I think, McLaughlin and Singletary and some others, they've been able to play Snacks Johnson and Jaden Johnson at this hog position, which is actually the nickel position. So today it was Johnson and Johnson, the players, who came in even before the coach did.
Yeah, it leads to the pun, of course. But, man, this is probably the biggest position of need for Arkansas, judging upon what we saw from last year. You do have a lot of returners that you're still counting on, though. Hudson Clark, Dwight McLaughlin. You mentioned Jalen Lewis. I know he's fighting for a position out there. You're counting on – you're also counting on Quincy McAdoo to be, I think one of the starting cornerbacks, and we don't know if he's going to be playing at all this year. I can't think of another position or another portion of the game of football where Arkansas needed not just an improvement, Grant, but a major improvement. And Coach Woodson had that kind of turnaround when he was at Florida State.
Yeah, and really, I think the defensive backs got the better of the offense, at least in the so-called fastball thing, or the few periods that we can watch. I think maybe the offense rallied this morning a little bit, but it's funny that I think last week maybe I was talking about how I was really impressed with the receivers that first day, and so the coach, Coach Woodson, acknowledged that was not a good day for the defense, but he said ever since then they've stacked some good days together, and they've got these guys I mentioned. McLaughlin played at LSU. Singletary, it has come in from Georgia. The kid. It's a kid from Cedartown, Georgia, and this Al Walcott, they say, is doing a phenomenal job. And there's another Baylor guy. Now, he was not there in the spring and really couldn't really do a whole lot till July. But you can tell, at least a lot of people think he's got a chance to start also.
Yeah, kind of our secondary. Losing Quincy, that's a big loss. It's for somebody else to step up. Do we have any guys, Grant, that have come up and hit you? Because that's the thing I liked about Quincy, man. He was going to come stick his nose in there and make a tackle. We got to have more guys like that in the secondary. That we got to tackle better.
Yeah, and really they've had the one scrimmage, and the players said today that it was just little things that they were trying to correct for this next big second scrimmage. And, of course, you can't tell a whole lot, and the scrimmage wasn't open to us. So
right.
I know who's the kid, Spence, the linebacker, they say, is really a hard hitter. Some of the young ones, like on offense, I think Kudus just turned 19 years old the other day, but he's getting a lot of praise. So I think this is a more physical football team this year. I mean, Sam said so. They're bigger and stronger, and so I think it's reasonable to expect that they would hit harder.
I think it's interesting. We heard from Cody Kennedy yesterday, and you feel really solid about where you are up the middle on the offensive line, but it's you don't know what you're going to get at tackle just because the guys that are expected to play there, Devin Manuel, Patrick Kudus, very talented, but haven't. They played on special teams last year. They didn't have to line up on the offensive line against SEC defenders too often. And when they did, it was on special teams. So and the other interesting aspect of this too is, we Sam Pittman takes the job as the Arkansas head coach. You start thinking to yourself, well, they're going to turn into a really good line of scrimmage team, and we're going to start bringing in a certain kind of recruit. And the recruits are big. They're big recruits that have come in. But then the guys who've been playing on the line, who've been successful the last 2-3 years, have mostly been Chad Morris guys. So, with Braun coming in from Florida, and Sam gets credit for that because he transferred in under him. And then the 2 tackles, these are Sam Pittman recruits. So this is kind of like the first year where you're seeing just at least the recruiting effect. I think there's been an effect of Sam being the head coach at Arkansas just on the line the last couple of years. But now you get a chance for his guys to now do their thing.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the offensive line coach who came in yesterday, and he was talking about how, I think when these assistant coaches, some head coaches don't allow the assistants to talk at all. I don't think we ever hear from Saban's guys, do we? Maybe at the bowl, I'm not sure, but they walk a fine line between being informational, which they are, and then not being too, sounding like this is the greatest team ever. But I think it was interesting to hear them talk yesterday about this offense under Dan Enos being really different. The formations have really changed, multitude of new protections, and I'm not sure how much Sam Pittman wants, him talking about a big change in the offense, but he's excited about it. And the other thing that Cody Kennedy, that Coach Kennedy said was, this is. I'm not going to sit here and try to give away secrets, but he's excited about this offensive line. I mean, you talked about the size. Some of them are listed at 350, and who knows, one of them I think was over 400 pounds at one point. But he really it's funny, he used a couple of words yesterday that impressed me. He used the word exponentially, and he used the word equatable. And I was talking to Tom Murphy about this morning because the word came out as equitable in the newspaper, and what he actually said was equatable. And that's not even in some dictionaries you'll find, but it is a word, So I was impressed with Coach Kennedy yesterday also.
Speaking of the offensive line, Grant, what's the latest with Devin Manuel? If he's supposed to be our starting left tackle and he's missed 6 practices in a row, should we be worried?
Well, it's always a concern. There were 6 or 7 of those guys yesterday. And believe me, when they're, the time was, Matt, I don't know how it was when you played, but guys had their red crosses on or whatever, and they might not do a whole lot during practice. But I think some of these guys are going to wish they're back in there because they're constantly lifting the weights and doing the up downs and all the things they have to do. It's not a picnic if you're on the sidelines not playing. And I would think they'd want to get back in there as soon as they can, if they can.
Oh, yeah, you definitely want to be practicing. I mean, that's the way you're going to get on the field because there's something about being in game shape. I know these first couple games, you as fans, we're saying, hey, our guys are going to go out there and then the starters are going to be sitting out most of the second half, but we don't know how that's going to go, and you got to be in shape. It's a difference between a practice and a game shape.
Yeah, I think they're getting there. It's funny that back in the day, guys would run after practice a lot. I don't know how much they do that anymore, but the practices are fast paced and not a lot of idle time there.
Grant, can I ask you about the golf? I saw that I wanted to get your thoughts because I actually watched. I played that course. I shot a 91 out there. That's a tough track out there in Memphis. But I watched the finals, and I wanted to get your opinion. Do you think it's better like Lucas Glover? Now, it worked this time, and it's Lucas Glover who wears no gloves, but he was out there on the track and then comes in, and Patrick Cantlay was the one that was sitting down for an hour and a half and then hits his first tee shot into the water. What are you? Did you watch any of that?
I did. I watched most of it, at least the replay of it later. And, Glover is a guy that I'm really intrigued to see if he makes this Ryder Cup team.
He changed his putter, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want the guy with the hot hand who all of a sudden can putt, and he's always been a great ball striker, it'd be pretty hard to keep him off of that thing now, which means somebody else might not make it, like a Justin Thomas or or whatever. But yeah, I thought he looked like he'd been through a car wash when he was playing. And I just think Cantlay was probably so hot physically, from the round. He wanted to sit in there and watch a little bit more on TV. And he said the drive was close to being a perfect drive. I mean, if it kicks right instead of left, he's okay there. But those playoffs are pretty much a crapshoot. It's tough, in a one-hole deal. But Glover came through.
Grant, I feel like I could ask you about any major golf tournament on the weekend and that you've watched a major portion of it.
You got the top 50 going to the BMW, then the top 30 at Eastlake, yeah.
How do you handle college football season, Grant, to watch Arkansas and whatever other games that interest you but still stay up on whatever's happening in golf? And I know the answer is a DVR, but, man, there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's more hours than that in football and golf combined.
I would say 4 or 5 hours sleep is a good night. Like last night, I was tired, but I wanted to watch Hard Knocks and see the latest on Aaron Rodgers. You guys been following that with the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be pretty good this year, especially defensively.
I guess they had a magician show up for camp yesterday, right? Did he wow you?
Yeah, I don't know, but to answer your previous question. It's fun. I mean, it's kind of like when you cover a golf tournament, you're getting 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. But as soon as you get out there and it's beautiful in the morning and you start walking around and you don't realize you haven't got any sleep.
Did you see? Have you seen the Johnny Manziel documentary?
I have not seen it. I heard you guys. Were you talking about it? Someone was talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I brought it up yesterday. It feels incomplete. It felt like there was some meat left on the bones there, and I don't know if they were going for likability or anything, because he's still not very likable, and I think that there's another chapter to be written, and I don't know if it's going to be a pretty chapter. I mean, I hate to make a prediction like that, but you have this track record that's been all there in front of us for the entire public to see. It's worth the hour and 12 minutes if you want to put into it, but it's only an hour and 12 minutes. I thought it could have been 2 hours.
It's a troubling story in the fact that he was such a great college football player. Johnny Football, you talked about it, Matt. He was exciting, and it's like you want a guy like that to succeed in all areas of his life, but doesn't always happen.
Yeah, there was a lot of talent. That Mike Evans is. I don't know if he got Hall of Fame numbers in the NFL, but he's talented enough. Have you kept up anything with the world basketball? Because I know Bobby Portis is over there. They in Abu Dhabi playing. I saw Brunson playing a little bit. Man, I'm liking his game. I know Chuck's a fan of the Knicks. Brunson's a stud. But is Bobby Portis been playing a lot? Have you checked in on it?
I have not really, Matt. In terms of watching it, just kind of following it a little bit. The only basketball I did. It's funny, I watched 10 practices of the Arkansas women's team before they went overseas. They had a great trip, won by the big margins you'd expect, and the freshman kid, Lawrence from Farmington, did well. And but no, to answer your question, I have not watched Bobby and the guys.
Women's team has some length. I mean, they had some length last year defensively. They added to it, bringing Sasha back and Lawrence too. I guess it's all a question of whether or not that length turns into, playing physical around the rim, which still, that's the big thing. I mean, height doesn't necessarily mean physicality, and I think that's the one thing that you're kind of hoping for from some of these tall young ladies.
Is this a team, Phil, you think that can compete with the South Carolina and LSU this year?
I think they can put a scare into those teams for sure.
We're going to have some links and some physicality.
Got a ton of talent. The other aspect is I don't think Carolina's quite what they've been previously. They've lost most of the players from the last couple of years, but they're pretty talented behind them.
Phil, a couple of things. They shot 83% from the free throw line, and that's what they were doing in practice. I mean, they just feel like they couldn't miss. In practice, of course, it's different when you play, but that was good. But the thing that shocked me was Talia Scott was 0 for 12 from 3, and she couldn't miss one in practice. So, I think that's an aberration. I think she's going to be a great player.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to stay quite like that. That's for sure. Grant, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Always appreciate your time. Let's do it again next week, okay?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Grant.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.